How's it going, ladies and gentlemen? My name is Scarlet, and welcome back to a brand new video, guys. Today, I'm going to be taking a look at some Pokemon rumors, leaks, all that kind of stuff. So sit back, relax, grab yourself a beverage just like I do, and let's have a good one, right? So, starting things off, we have a 4chan post that was made, which I thought we'd go to in, first and just discover and talk about everything that's being mentioned in this one. And I've actually got 2 of these today because there's not really been a lot, but I thought I would cover the 2 that I've got so far, at least at once right now. So, let's get into the first one, which is this one right here from 4chan. This was posted like yesterday, I think, or about 2 days ago. But either way, this is what it says. So, leak by Anonymous. He says, new Pokemon content being announced in a Pokemon Presents this month. So again, it is speculated that this month we will be getting ourselves something. It's a speculation that exists. And there's stuff that there is proof from the past like 10 years that they're willing to do stuff in this May period. They've done it before. They could do it again. That's the point. As for what it says, though, is the following. So, new Pokemon content being announced in a Pokemon Presents this month. Starting things off, Pokemon Go event focusing on Pokemon from Paldea. Okay, that's a good way to put it, I guess. So yeah, I mean, Paldean Pokemon have already been in Go. There are already a few of them in there. Some more difficult to get than others, but they are available, to say the least, okay? They are available in Scarlet. They're available in Pokemon Go, a lot of Scarlet and Violet Pokemon. However, not all of them, and I know they probably want to add in a few more just to kind of, try to boost up the hype of Go, because let's be real, Go is generally falling off. Like, the game is genuinely dying at the moment, and it's just losing player numbers. And it's understandable. They make really bad choices, and the game is just getting stale. But either way, so he continues on and says that Carmen, you guys do not know Carmen, she's one of the characters from the Indigo Disc and the Kitakami DLC, and also Kieran, same thing, her brother, and the BB Elite 4 from the Indigo Disc are going to be coming to Pokemon Masters. That sounds realistic. Pokemon Masters does get, like, random updates featuring, new characters and stuff like that. Like, it's not that crazy, right? It does sound realistic. Sync pairs are Carmen and Sinistcha. Okay. Kieran and Hydrapple, that makes sense. It fits with what they had. Crispin and Blaziken fits too. Amaris and Metagross fits as well. Lacey and her Excadrill, which of course makes sense, given also who her dad is. That's also her ace, by the way. And Drayton, as well as Arcaludon, which, yes, those are matching up perfectly. Those are literally all their partner Pokemon and their aces, so to say. So, yeah, it makes total sense. Genuinely, it just fits. It just makes sense. It fits. There's nothing too crazy with it, to be honest with you. It sounds realistic. It sounds like something that genuinely could happen. Next up, free update coming to Scarlet and Violet. Now, this does not sound realistic. When he says free update, what would that even mean? Because we've already had, like, I think the final update we got was the one that we just had with Pecharunt, the Pecharunt event, right? I think that was the last event we were going to be getting. I don't really think we're getting another one. If this rumor is real, though, that would be sick, but here's what he says. New Mythical. Now, there is talks about there was supposed to be another Mythical in Scarlet and Violet. Some sort of monkey is what we knew, or gorilla, something like that, but that never happened. We never got it. If it happens now, that'd be sick, but I don't know. He does say, though, new Mythical, no big event. You just go to Area 0 and fight, with the right item and catch it. Okay, that sounds like just about what Pokemon would do, so it sounds pretty standard. It sounds realistic. He says, a few new side quests. Ooh, that would be nice. Okay. A few new side quests. Interesting. So he says, new special coaches at the Blueberry Academy, accessible after beating Serrano. Okay, so this would be brand new characters to meet, I guess, inside of the Blueberry Academy, like in the actual club room, like the league club or whatever it's called. And you guys can actually go there and battle people, like, right now in the game, but this would include brand new characters after beating Serrano, which is the final one. He says that you got to get Lenora, Roxy, Berg, Alessa, Clay, Skyla, Bryson, Drayden. This is basically all the gym leaders and stuff, and just important characters or gym characters or Elite Four members and stuff like that from specifically Gen 5, right? It seems like a lot of Gen 5 stuff. He says also Drayden, Chantal, Marshall, Grimsley, Caitlin, Alder, Iris, Sharon, Bianca, and Hugh, Chorus, and Emmett. Interesting. Okay, he says new information about Legends ZA. I mean, that would be pretty self-explanatory if we're waiting to see, if we're literally waiting for information for that game. We know nothing still about Legends ZA, right? Like, that's the kind of the sad part about Legends ZA is we literally have zero information about that game. We know nothing. We don't know what's happening with it. We don't know any gameplay about it. We don't know when it's coming out. Nothing. We have zero information on it. However, it would make sense that we would see it in the Pokemon Presents. Now, he says starters are Snivy, Scorbunny, and Piplup. Okay, fair enough. He says they say it takes place entirely within Lumiose City, but there are some hinting that other areas may be accessible. Okay, again, not that crazy. Doesn't sound pretty reasonable. I mean, I wouldn't think, like, the game is probably going to take place, like, 90%, okay? I think 90% of the game is going to take place in Lumiose City, because they specifically say entirely set in Lumiose, right? Like, that's literally officially been said by Nintendo. And I know Nintendo is not the one that makes it, but Nintendo are the people that publish it, so they have all the information they need. And the point is that the game is going to be set in Lumiose no matter what you say, do, or want it to be, but it's going to be set there. However, the interesting part is that we could be possibly getting a 10% of the game being set in kind of like little, like enclaves, enclaves, whatever you want to call it, little, like, small parts of the rest of Kalos being explorable, like tiny little places we can go to just temporarily, right? I think that would make sense. He says, they say it takes place entirely within Lumiose City, but there's some hintings that other areas may be accessible. All Pokemon introduced in Gen 6 Gen 6 will be available, as well as every Pokemon that received a Mega. Okay, so that would be Beedrill would show up as well, Pidgeotto, I guess any of the Gen 3 starters, so Hoenn starters with Megas, fair enough. Still not ready to show gameplay footage. Bro, if they don't have gameplay footage for us in, like, now in May, June, or July, man, or even by August, like, I'll be fuming, man. Like, we want to see the game. We don't care about visual trailers that should show stuff that's not going to be in-game, you know? It's not fun. Nobody cares about that. Then he says, present ends with a reveal of Mega Flygon. That would be sick, but also that's where you lose me with this rumor. Like, everything up until now was good, and then you always, like, these guys always do it. They're doing so good, they go so good, and then they, boom, crash and burn. I don't know if they would literally end it off. Like, listen, Mega Flygon is highly possibly gonna happen. Why? Because it was originally planned in X and Y and ORAS. They planned to have it. They just didn't know how to go about it and how to design it or what to make it look like. So they were planning on making one. They just didn't make it, right? Here's the thing, though. They could definitely make it now to make up for that. And they've done that in the past. They had an ID that didn't work out in the past, and they bring back that ID in newer games. That's something they've done. Surfetched is the best example of that. Surfetched was a planned ID that ended up not happening back in Gen 2, and they ended up making Surfetched in, of course, Galar. So that's just a bit of a one. This rumor, honestly, it's a pretty solid one. Pretty straightforward. I don't know if it's real or not. Again, it's rumors. This is just all for fun at the end of the day. Don't take this as the end or be all of things. But nonetheless, it's just important to mention, bring up, and talk about. So let's move on to the next rumor, which is going to be this post that was made today, actually. This is a post made literally today as I was just browsing and just making sure I was collecting a lot of information for today's video. This one showed up, so I thought we'd take a look at it and see what it has to say. So starts off as follows. Legends ZA presents June 10th. Now, June 10th, let's see, that would be on a Monday, so a bit of a weird timing for a Pokemon Presents. That's, I don't know. And also, I don't know, it seems like a weird timing for them to do that, but nonetheless, okay, he says June 10th, fair enough. He says Pokemon Presents on that day will focus specifically on Legends ZA. I would expect it to, right? If it didn't, then that would be weirder. Because again, Legends ZA is the only thing we know about. It's the only big thing from Pokemon right now, besides TCG Pocket. But I don't think many people really care about TCG Pocket. Realistically, most people do not care about it. People are way more excited for Legends ZA. That's the game that people are waiting for, and they want to see gameplay of that. Now, he continues on and says the following. It says that showcasing the starter Pokemon, which are the Kalos starters. Okay, that would make sense. Again, it's the debate right now. Are we going to get the Kalos starters, or are we going to get brand new starters? And when I say brand new, I don't mean literally brand new, invented starters, but rather we have what we had in Legends Arceus, with Rowlet, Cyndaquil, and Oshawott, right? Are we going to get something like that, or are we going to get the original Kalos starters instead? Again, he's saying that it's the Kalos one. The previous rumor said it's the other way around, so I don't know, Chief. We'll see how it turns out. He says, though, first gameplay footage is shown, and the game takes place in the present. Okay, that would be weird. in present. So would X, like the timeline of X and Y, is that the same time then? Like, or would X and Y be considered the past or the future? It's a bit weird. Okay, but he says it takes place in the present, which is weird. He says that wild Pokemon are shown freely in the open world, and some ride Pokemon are shown off, such as Lapras swimming in the sewers, and Talonflame being the fly Pokemon of the game. Okay, sounds about right, sounds logical. That I would expect that to be the case, especially because we did see Talonflame flying around in the trailer and like de-evolving and stuff, which was something really weird. But yeah, I guess wouldn't be too crazy if Talonflame is the one that we actually use for any sort of flight in the game. Like anything where we're flying, it would make sense that we have that. Either way, they continue on and say, they re-reveal, oh god, they already revealed it once, but yeah, sure. They re-reveal of Mega Evolution, and it shows the returning old Pokemon like Heracross and Pinsir. That would be sick, man. Those both got Megas, and I'd love to see him back. Only 3 regional forms are shown off here. Okay, 3 regional forms. One of them being for Hatterene, which is a Ghost Fairy type, okay, and the other one is Grubbin and Charjabug, which are Bug and Normal, but I guess we don't see Vikavolt? Is that it? We just do not see, like, the final stage, which would be unfortunate, but it's a Bug Normal type. That's a weird, so they removed the electrical typing. Fair enough. I don't know. That's a bit odd. It's a bit odd, isn't it? But hey, I digress. You know, it's not the end of the world. Moving on, though, he says the trailer ends off with the reveal of the Mega Kalos starters. Okay, so the Mega Kalos starters. So that's the thing. Again, it is a rumored thing that we're going to get Kalos Megas for the starters, but we'll see. He says, I saw a cool cinematic battle of the Mega Kalos starters versus the Mega Kanto starters. That actually would be sick, man. Like, it's still weird to me that they never did Megas for the starter Pokemon on Kalos. Like, that still is a stupid decision that they made back then. I don't understand the logic that was, you know, behind that decision, but I digress. They just didn't do it. Now, he says, there is a cool animation at the end which shows Zygarde's eyes glowing and some music playing in the background. Then it cuts to black and some red eyes glow instead. So is that, like, implying that Zygarde's, like, you know, is it turning evil? Is that the A part of ZA? Z is for Zygarde, A is for angry? I don't know. Like, what else would it be, man? I can't really, like, figure it out. Like, I'm trying to figure it out, but I don't know. Either way, moving on. It says, I'm unsure of this tidbit, but I heard that seasons make a return and greatly impact gameplay and story of the game. Ooh, that would be... Oh, wow, that would actually be perfect. And again, he says this, but it's interesting because it was something that was mentioned by Riddler Koo, who's a legitimate leaker. He's been a little bit off lately, but he has been correct in the past. And something he mentioned was that they actually plan to have seasons. And when we say seasons, we're talking like winter, summer, spring, autumn, right? That the game changes the times, you know, like the literal, you know, seasons of the game will be changing throughout your gameplay. And basically, he said that there was a seasonal system planned for Scarlet and Violet, but never implemented. So they weren't fully able to implement it. They didn't do it in time. But this is a smaller game. I would say Legends ZA has got to be a bit of a smaller game in size, a smaller in scope, and just not as big of a game like for them to deal with. So because of that, it would make total sense, at least to me, it would make total sense if they simply decided to be like, okay, well, let's instead do that in a smaller game, a game that isn't as large in scale as Scarlet and Violet, but a game where we can actually implement it properly and make it functional and give it a purpose. Because if we have a seasonal system and like based on the seasons, things change. Like, I don't know, for example, during winter time, there's more like, you know, ice type Pokemon or, you know, and Pokemon that, you know, like, you know, deal with the snow and like, you know, like, I don't know, Galarian Darmanitans can be walking around instead of like during the summer where it can be a bunch of Magmortars walking around in a certain area. Or for example, during winter, because it's cold, you have a bunch of Pokemon that will huddle up together in certain areas next to like one fire type Pokemon to keep them all warm. Like stuff like that, like small little stuff like that makes a really big impact. And I think that would be really cool if they did do it. Again, it's just a, you know, it's just a theory, but I think that would be really cool if this rumor is real. Again, it is a rumor. Keep that in mind. It is a rumor, so I wouldn't take it as the end-all, be-all, and confirmation of anything, at least not as of yet, because we don't know if it's actually, you know, legitimate. But nonetheless, though, he says screen cap this in case you guys want to, you know, keep up with it for the future. But that's pretty much that. Moving on, though, we do have something else, but I want to know what you guys think about this rumor in the comment section down below. I would gladly love to know what you guys think about it. What are your thoughts on it? All that kind of stuff. Let me know. I simply want to have your thoughts and opinions. And that pretty much summarizes that. I think we can now move on to the next thing, which is going to be this post from Centro. So this is some actually really cool information, but it turns out that there are some updates to the Nintendo engine that's being used for the Nintendo games. So he says here that Nintendo's internal engine used for many of their first-party titles now supports up to 240 FPS, possibly gearing up for the next-gen Switch, which that is great news. And that's the Bezel engine NintendoWare. And you guys can see right here from Oatmeal, who originally shared this, saying that NintendoWare Bezel engine, the latest version of the engine appears to support higher frame rates like 240 FPS. The Switch can only output 60 FPS. This only applies to games that enable the variable frame rate mode. Not sure if older engine versions also support this. Again, that's an interesting change. He says your Endless Ocean Luminous uses a new version of the Bezel engine, thanks WaterTune, where this mode was found. Past Bezel engine games include both WarioWare titles on the Switch, both Mario titles, Tetris 99, and some assorted third parties. These use the older version. I should really note, though, that just because the engine supports it doesn't mean that it will be actually used by games, which is true. But again, it is a good indication that they're willing to push their engine to 240. That's a good indication and could mean good things. But again, it is just, bare minimum knowledge. Also, I mentioned this yesterday, but yes, there is a distribution event for a Gyarados, which is going to be happening because of the highest ranking Singaporean player using Gyarados, and it's going to be given out very soon later this month. I think about on the 12th is going to be given out, so stay tuned for that. And let's go over to some theories. So this is something that was posted. This is an original post here from none else than our boy Soul Silver, who says, when Pokémon Legends ZA was announced, a very popular theory that many fans had, including myself, is that Hoopa is the prime candidate to be the cause of any time displacement shenanigans. In PLA, Arceus, Dialga, and Palkia were the ones messing with time and space. However, in PLZA, those Pokemon probably won't be involved. But Hoopa is a Pokemon with similar capabilities in Kalos and Gen 6, which is true. Its Pokédex entry only mentioned it moving things through space, but not through time. However, they also say it can seize anything because it's meant to be based on a Djinn, or a wish-granting genie. And we have seen it suggested in other places that it can pull anything from other dimensions and times through its rings. It's definitely a potential answer to many of the mysterious mysteries of this game. There's just too much we don't know to actually consider this a real option. Many people would assume that Game Freak would rather use a new Pokemon or scenario, but expanding on Hoopa's lore would be awesome too. Again, this is all laying foundation for my next post, though, so stay tuned. And then if we go back here, if we go back to like the original post that we were looking at, like if we just slide back to it here from Kayla, he says, note that if Hoopa is hyperspace holes are how we travel across universes in Legends ZA, our character will retain their memories after traveling. This is different from PLA, where our characters was in ultra space for an indeterminate amount of time, causing memory loss, which that's pretty cool if they still keep the lore consistent. But that actually makes sense. Like, from a lore perspective, I think all of it makes sense. Now, this is a possible reason why the trailer looked futuristic, despite being set in the past. The player sees a city blueprint, is able to imagine what will become because they have retained their memories. They can use their memories to help the Quasar team redevelop Lumiose. That's a really cool concept. Like, that is genuinely a really cool concept, and I think that would be so sick. Also, Sol had the following to say, which is, I still have my concerns, but if the streets are really to scale in Pokemon Legends ZA, I'm not only excited for it to be set in the city, in almost every version of Lumiose we've seen throughout the years, it's clear that Game Freak had always intended it for it to be grandiose of a city, a word that's literally part of the name Lumiose. Grandiose, Lumiose, I hope they really capture the magic and character of Paris, especially if it's the 1800s Paris this time around. And I agree, they definitely wanted to make it larger. And Kayla says that she thinks that each of these circles will be around the size of a Blueberry Academy, maybe just a bit smaller. And Soul thinks it's going to be much larger than the little circles on the map that we've seen. I don't know if they're going to be that large. I don't know, but it will be interesting. And speaking of Hoopa, by the way, there was this post by Yoriden where he said, don't take me too seriously on this, but the Hoopa name in Japanese almost looks like ZA, which, yes, it looks like a Z and then the A that we have from ZA's logo. And that's the name of Hoopa. That's literally this Hoopa's name, which is funny because that's basically what it looks like when you look at it from, like, if you just look at it like it's a drawing, that's what it kind of looks like. So here's what Soul says. Don't take me too seriously on this next part either, but those Hoopa posts I made over the past 24 hours, I could see someone at Game Freak seeing Hoopa's name and creating the Legends ZA title from it because they look similar. Don't forget, PLA was called Legends Arceus, and the ZA title is still ZA in English and Japanese. Admittedly, I'd be shocked if this was really how they came up with the name, and that it's really meant to just be play on Legends Hoopa, with Zygarde as the Dialga and Palkia and the almighty Sinnoh of this game. Again, it is a cool theory, but I don't know if that's just being a little bit too far-fetched. Now, before we end the video, guys, I want to quickly mention that I am currently being featured as this week's Creator Friday host, Ruffle Rowlet. Go over there to Pokedoku. It is basically a Sudoku website. If you guys go over to it, you've got my specific puzzle up right now. You guys can try your hands on it, see how you do it. Again, pokedoku.com. Go check it out. And yeah, shout out to them for actually wanting to feature me. Go give that some love. And like I said, though, again, we have a distribution event coming out. We've got the fact that the engine updates, and of course, the 2 rumors that we read. I'd love to know you guys' thoughts and opinions on all of it, and I'll be seeing you guys in the next video. Peace out. Bye-bye, ladies and gentlemen.